Okay, so here we are. The dream we all dream of. How's everybody doing? I'm here, just hanging out. Had a pretty good week, and I'm very excited that it really seems like we have averted World War III. Now, before World War One happened, it seemed like there was uh, a relative peace, and things were going better than they ever had. Um, let's hope it's not like that. Let's hope there's actually, you know, some really serious good times ahead of us. Um, we have to kind of work for that. We have to make sure that anything that is in our way is going to be taken care of. And when I say taken care of, I mean sometimes you have to. Sometimes you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet, as the saying goes. Um, so I'm not saying that is something that we want to do, but if there's a need for taking taking action against uh, groups or individuals who seek to undermine or destroy uh, peace and stability in the world, then we're going to have to do that. Hi there, Green Cam. Welcome to the live chat. What are my beliefs on vaccines? I don't vaccinate. I didn't vaccinate my children ever, and they are very healthy. They're just fine. Um, I think there should be more information, accurate information, made available to people before they choose to do that. I think it should be uh, only by consent and not under duress or by coercion that people vaccinate themselves. And I think people should be informed that there are alternatives to doing so and should be fully informed of the potential risks of vaccinating. But like everything of that nature, I view it as a personal choice, and everyone should seek full full information about that type of thing before uh, going ahead with it or giving consent on behalf of their children. Yeah, right. I'm aware of all these things, and that's why I've never vaccinated my children. Um, I don't get shots myself. I haven't had any that I recall since probably eighth grade, ninth grade, something like that. And that was a pretty common thing when I was a child for parents to vaccinate their children, as there was probably a greater effects and risks. But starting in the 1990s, I believe, became greater awareness of potential dangers. So I stopped doing that to myself after I became aware and stopped stopped believing in that. And I was only a teenager in the 1990s, but I knew enough to know not to do that to myself. And I've never done that to my children. So, hi there, Nathan. Nancy Pelosi. I do not know Nancy Pelosi, but I don't really trust her, and I would like to see her removed from our government. Frankly, I think she's already probably been in far too long, and I don't trust her agendas, and I don't believe that she truly represents the people who she is um, duty bound towards. So I think with any person of that nature, they should not be in our government. I think they should be removed from our government. And yeah, is that true? It's quite likely. I mean, she is a Democrat. So, and, you know, I'm not going to say all Democrats are bad people, but I don't believe the Democratic Party really is interested in representing the American people. I believe the Democratic Party is representing and interested in representing themselves for the most part, and generally use their position in government to further their own agendas rather than represent the people. Um, I'm not saying they're all like that. I think Bill Clinton did some fine things as president. I have respect for that man uh, in his work. I don't know much about his personal, but I have respect for the work that he did as president and as governor when he was the governor of the state of Arkansas. But yeah, I have difficulty trusting Democrats to accurately represent the American people because I don't think that they generally do that anymore. And there's a tendency I've noticed in the Democratic Party to tell people what they want to hear just to get votes and then do whatever they want afterwards to suit their own agendas, which, you know, Obama did that to a large extent, frankly, um, with a bunch of things like the gay marriage thing. He kind of, made his platform all about some things that appealed across the board to everybody, and then he kind of slipped that in. The massive expenditures by the federal government for Obamacare were not uh, expressly stated in his campaign either. Um, a lot of his military stuff was not explained to the American public in advance. The agendas that he pursued overseas, and I think that mostly he was just trying to serve himself, frankly. In some ways, he was very populist, pro the people, but I think that was more or less token stuff to keep people happy and continue voting for him so that he could uh, push other things behind the scenes that were his real agendas. So, hi there, Green Cam. You follow me on Twitter? Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and I will. I'm already following you, so I'll definitely follow anybody back who follows me on Twitter, as long as I don't get blocked or banned from doing so. Hmm. Yeah, Nathan, Democrats are just difficult to trust, really, because there's always something else behind what's going on or what's said to be going on. And also, even a lot of Republicans, frankly, are difficult to trust because there seems to be a group of people that have learned to know what to say to get Republican voters and can pretend really well to be Republicans, but they don't really have Republican values or ideals. And that's the way it is these days. We have to be really, really careful who we vote for. And we have to, if we're going to vote for a Republican, better be a real one, not someone pretending. So, how are you? You guys want to say hi to my son? This is Alexander. Someone saying hi to you. Hey, Alexander.
Hi.
Say hi, Lucas.
Hi, Lucas.
Hi, Lucas. Green Cam, Michael Phillips said in his video that he envisioned me being beaten in the 2024 campaign by Mike Pence. That is, in my belief, what Michael Phillips is talking about was a 2076 that he traveled forward to from here after helping to avert World War III. That is not necessarily a definite outcome, and in fact, it might not be even a definite outcome because various things various factors can change that, and various factors can be changed to negate that outcome. Mm-hmm. Lucas Alexander is 7 right now, but yeah, he's a good kid, and he's definitely full of energy and enthusiasm, which is refreshing. So the way that timelines work, you guys, it's it's never really definite that what someone has traveled to and seen is going to happen. Um, it could be what they are seeing as a hypothetical scenario where if something else doesn't occur or does occur, that will be the outcome. But uh, as we've seen since we've averted World War III, that things can change and can be made uh, to a better outcome and a better timeline. So I think that what Michael Phillips might have seen is a timeline where something either happened or did not happen that led to uh, me being president in 2024, which, you know, these things still may or may not happen. We could change things ultimately. Free will is a very important factor when it comes to outcomes of things, especially certain things, and especially things like presidential election. Ultimately, free will is and freedom of choice by and for the people is what really does guide a huge major factor. So maybe that's what we need to learn from what Michael was saying is that our free choice and our free will is really the question of the day, is the issue of the day, our freedom of choice. Let me see. Lucas, you have a question about when I met Harry Truman, our former president. Was he part African American? Because I heard the president black before Obama. Um, I don't know. I didn't really think about that. I didn't meet his mother or father or grandparents, so I don't know. Um, but if that were so, does it really matter? He was a good man and a good president, and he ended the war. So, and helped usher in some programs and things that uh, led to the greatest prosperity that America had ever seen up to that point. So, and he was really nice. Let's see, Peyton. Michael Phillips said, "Your president 2024, then it's Yolanda King 2028. He said that you'd be one of the best presidents ever. However, I'm concerned about the timeline change that has happened." Okay. Um, well, like I've just said, I think that may be not necessarily the outcome of things. That doesn't have to be that way. What that could be is an outcome wherein I chose not to run for president or chose to stop campaigning, which, you know, I'm not going to lie, right now I have a tendency in my life to become very, very discouraged and give up on things, especially if it seems like just a gigantic mountain to climb. And right now, to me, this is a gigantic mountain to climb. This is probably one of the hardest things I could possibly do with my life at this point. But I'm still here to do it, and I'm not giving up. So uh, it is probably something we should be concerned about for sure. But if we let enough people know that I'm here and I'm available for the job. That's really the key thing, probably. You know, the message out to people and getting them to support what we're trying to accomplish. Um, now, someone like Pence might have a bigger financial support base and a bigger media support base right now, but if we keep plugging away, then this thing could grow very quickly and very rapidly to something that they just can't defeat. So that's what I'm hoping will happen. And that's why I'm making these videos regularly. I've been making sometimes a few of them every day.
It's a pineapple pen.
It's a pineapple pen. It's pineapple head. Okay, so my connection is a little unstable, but thank you, Peyton. I will not give up, and I know that we can do this. I don't know that I can do this. I mean, I can do this as part of we, basically. That's the way I'm looking at it. I can't do it by myself. That's the honest truth. So, Superman does not exist. And if someone's telling you that or trying to convince you that they're perfect or um, invincible, then they're just plain lying. The USA and the US government if you become president. Well, we've been talking about that restriction. Yeah, we would like to see the age 35 requirement, 18, 20, thereabouts, same as military age. So, and I believe, and so do others, that that will keep the United States from allowing people in the government who have ulterior motives and other agendas from abusing our young people and forcing them. I mean, I'm still relatively young, but forcing younger people into situations of conflict to protect ulterior agendas. So that's one of the huge things that we want to change. Um, as far as the government itself, anyway, and the laws, that's the biggest thing. Hi there, Shadow Striker. What is YAC? YAC is a music group that I've been part of for the last 25 years or more in one form or another. We have a website that you can visit if you'd like to support us. All of our streaming revenue goes into my presidential campaign at this point. Our website is youngastronautclub.com. youngastronautclub.com. All the music that you listen to on there puts revenue into an account that is owned by me, and it's used as basically an expense account for my campaign. Excuse me. I'm a little bit allergic to something, but YC is like Lucas says that's cool. Is YC a punk? In spirit, I think. Yeah, I mean, we started off as definitely punk influenced and inspired. Um, and the music, while the music has changed significantly since, yeah, we do everything as DIY and as independent as could possibly be done in 2020, and always have to this point really. Um, we've never signed a record contract deliberately because we don't want to be contracted to somebody or controlled by some company. Hello there, Crystal. Which streaming sites pay the best again? YouTube pays the best actually. So the best thing to do is to go on YouTube and search Young Astronauts Club, and you'll find a lot of stuff that we've released there. But any of the music that you play on our website will also. Oh, actually, you know what? If you really want to help us, YouTube, YouTube is probably the best, and that'll help me get better cameras, better computers, better printing done, better media campaigns, better everything for what we're doing right here. So, so it's kill two birds with one stone. You can uh, get some what I think is pretty cool music and support a campaign like this one. Spotify is probably the next best. Yes, Crystal. Username. What are my views on immigration? Um, it's a good question, and it's something I've given plenty of consideration to actually. But I guess let me sum it up this way. I'm not opposed to legal immigration. I definitely think illegal immigration should be stopped. People who are seeking to enter the United States illegally should be thought of as trespassers, like someone breaking into your house, because you know everybody else had to. It's not really fair to do things uh, to allow people to do things illegally that way when there are plenty of people who do things the right way, the legal way, and don't expect any special treatment and are grateful for the opportunity to live and work in the United States. Um, Now, if we let people come in illegally and just turn a blind eye to it, we're kind of making the wrong statement to the world that we don't value our own laws and don't really care about our own laws that much. So, I think definitely more needs to be done to curb illegal immigration. Uh, and I think there needs to be a more rational approach to who can be allowed in legally, because let's face it, those of us who are already here have a lot of work to do before we can kind of start thinking about letting more people in. So that's the way I look at it. Um, if we can get America to be the greatest again, like it used to be, then maybe we can have some consideration for allowing in more legal immigration, but really only if it's of benefit to the country, not just to let people to come in and exploit the financial system or resources or whatever, and then go home. So we want people who are going to be, contributing members to society and are interested in being part of America, not being exploiters of America. So, so in that way, I think maybe there needs to be maybe not a full return to the way things used to be, where immigration was literally just closed off for a long time, but a serious curbing of the numbers of people allowed in legally, just until we catch up with what needs to be done first. So that's my view on it. I think it's a rational view, and I think it's the most practical view that we could take on it. And it doesn't mean we have any ill will towards anybody. It just means that we need to work on ourselves first. It's like you don't basically you can't invite people over to your house if your house is a mess, and you need to you need to paint it and fix the windows and all that kind of stuff. And then also you definitely can't afford to pay people to come in and do it for you. So you got to do it yourself. That's the way I've kind of always been. Punk rock, DIY, do it yourself approach. And I think that's very American, frankly, but that's kind of what America's always been, is the punk rock of countries. So um, Lucas says, I hope the opioid epidemic ends soon. It's so sad for people to lose a friend or family member. Is Trump and Pence really fighting it? It's a good question. I don't really know what they're doing about it. I think what could be done is, we could be just giving up on pharmaceutical companies. I know they're a big source of revenue, but I don't think they really produce products that are necessarily beneficial to society. I think we really need to get on their cases and start getting them to produce things that are ultimately actually only beneficial. If there's something that you can be that they produce that can easily be used to hurt somebody, or someone can hurt themselves with, maybe we need to reconsider that and moderate the strength of pharmaceuticals. I think as far as opioids, like if you're talking about heroin is concerned, it sounds strange, but I think how we're going to combat that is to pursue further legalization, because that way we can ensure that at least the quality of things that people are going to choose to use anyway is better, um, so that they're not going to be able to kill themselves with it, because it'll be cleaner and pure and more regulated. So it sounds strange. It sounds like a strange way to solve it. I know, but it's kind of like the approach of allowing people to have guns, because there are people who want to hurt us who have guns also. Well, if we allow people to have medicine because there are people who want to hurt us by selling us bad medicine, then we're kind of countering the problem at the very least, and it can lead to a solution there, in my opinion. Lucas says, I know for America to be great again, we need to stop all the crazy zoning laws on town and city levels. I can definitely agree with that. There are too many restrictions on what people can do in, on their own property and in their locales. Uh, that's definitely something that needs to be addressed, especially when it comes to uh, activities that prevent people from uh, making a living, for instance, which is not good. Yeah, you're right. The way to solve the opioid epidemic is what you just said. I think so. I mean, I know enough people who've been affected by it, so I sort of understand a lot about it. And if only some of those. I mean, I know people who have died from opioids, right? I mean, I'm a musician, so that's my band. It's a kind of a punk rock band. I know people who have gotten addicted to things and have died. And, if only they had had something that wasn't going to kill them that they could use instead, because these are people who generally need help. They need medicinal help, and they choose to self medicate a lot of the time, whether it's because they have psychological or emotional or whatever problems, spiritual problems. And I would prefer that those individuals had access to something that at least wasn't going to kill them and isn't off the street filled with impurities and toxins and every other thing. So, I think that if a person already has an addiction, then depriving them and limiting their choice to something that is going to hurt or kill them is not good. And um, sort of criminalizing them for having an addiction as well is not a good thing, because that person needs help, not punishment. That's the way I look at it. So to me, it's an illness, uh, or symptom of a really much bigger social ill, and that's what we need to really be focusing on. But in the meantime, we could be doing other things. So yeah, and I've talked with a lot of people about this subject. I've been part of the legalization movement since I was a teenager. Frankly, I've never been much interested in using anything myself, but I see how it affects people, and I understand the nature of these problems. And you know, I'd like to be able to do more to help them, and I think we should, as a society, be doing more to help them. So, yeah. Lucas says, I have another Native American question. Have you heard the voice of a Wendigo before? Just wondering, since the show Supernatural years ago. Um, can't say that I have. I don't really know what that means, honestly. If you know what that is, if you could please let me know. I'd be interested because I'm keenly interested in Native American culture and ways and customs. It's just hard for me to learn everything that there is to know. Um, I kind of view myself as like a guest, being mostly European. Um, so I think it's important as a guest to know as much as possible about the people whose land I'm a guest in, really. And I've kind of always thought that way. It's not like it's how it is. Um, let's see, Crystal, you were asking about streaming platforms that pay the best. Let's see. The best paying one is, in fact, Jay-Z's platform called Tidal, Tidal. They pay the best. I'm not sure if we have any music up there because I've never used it. You have to pay a subscription fee to use it, but Tidal is definitely the best by far. Um, Wendigo is a creature that disguises its voice as another person or someone close to that person. Okay. Well, I wouldn't know if I heard the voice of one because if I did, they'd probably be disguising themselves as someone I know or someone close to me. Isn't a Wendigo like a skinwalker? You guys talk about that amongst yourselves because I don't know what any of that stuff is, frankly. But it's very interesting to me. I'd like to know more about it. Um, Lisa, hi, how are you? Would you mind answering a question about time if you have a second? Thanks. No, go right ahead. What's your question? I'll try to answer it if I can. Um, if you could excuse me for just a moment, I will be right back. So feel free to write your question. I just need a glass of water because my mouth is a little bit dry. So hold on just a moment. Okay, so what's your question about time? Okay, well, all right. So back to, if you guys don't have any other questions, I'd like to go back to the question about changing or changes in the government. I would like to see. Okay, well, we'll get back to that since Lisa just asked her question. Okay, it's possible. If it's possible to travel to the past, excuse me, as well as the future, it's meant that different timelines are going on simultaneously. Let's see. Hmm, it really depends. And I really don't know because I've only existed in, to my knowledge, in one timeline. So I don't know fully about timelines and how they work. I do believe that it is possible to change this timeline, and that's really all that I've been ever aware of and focused on, and creating a good outcome on this timeline. But I don't really know the answer to that question, honestly, because I don't yet fully understand the physics behind time travel. I just understand the logistics of it, if that makes any sense. Like how things can be done and are done. And in my limited view of the universe, which is this timeline, I'm sure I don't fully understand everything either about that, but I know quite a bit. Lucas says it also depends on that one thing that happened in that timeline, Lisa, like if John McCain became president in 2008. Yeah, the way the universe works is kind of strange, I think. It doesn't really have, the universe doesn't play by human rules or ideas. I don't think anything is necessarily definite or uh, absolute. I think that a lot of things are down just basically to free will. The question is, do we really want to make choices that uh, are worse for us than if we made other choices that are good for us? And I think when you look at history, I think 99 times out of 100, if we could choose to do something good instead of something bad or lesser or less than good, um, we collectively take the good choice. Humanity has obviously made some very serious mistakes, especially in the last 100 years, especially since 1914. But if you look at the choices that we've made throughout history, they've always been towards progress and greatness for one reason or another, or in one way or another. Mm-hmm. Hi there, Dynamic Edits. Michael Phillips said, well, he did not necessarily say that I would not be present. He did say that he visited a 2076 where I had not been president. Um, so that does not necessarily negate me becoming president. It just means that he visited and saw another outcome. So that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. So we have to understand the nature of time travel, and that is that not everything is unchangeable or changeable. So, what I think, if we want to, and we can look at it this way or not, it really depends on us. And we don't know what's going to happen until then, frankly, but we can choose to change things. Really, it's ultimately down to that. We don't have to accept that as true. We don't have to accept it as not true. We can choose. And I think that's going to be a big part of what we're going to realize in the near future is that many, if not most things, come down to freedom of choice. And that's why it's in our Constitution. These are God given rights. God gave us the ability to choose and the freedom to choose. So the question is, what are we going to choose, really, not what are we going to accept as being chosen for us. Um, and on a personal level, that's certainly true as well, because my thinking on it is that even at this point, do I really want to go through with this? Because I could still choose not to go through with this. I could still choose to go do something else for the next 4 years and not not become president of the United States. The question is, do I really want to do that? That's just on a personal level. Now, the bigger picture there is, do you guys want me to keep going, or do you want to choose someone else to do the job who you think perhaps might be better suited for the job for your personal uh, for the things that you would like to see happen? Well, I'm just offering a set of choices here. Um, I think by now, if you watch my videos long enough, you can tell that I'm uh, sincere about what I'm saying. I hope you can tell. Uh, you might think I'm crazy, but I don't think you can doubt my sincerity. So, um, this is a choice, an option that I'm presenting to you guys, and you guys can make it happen, not me. And if someone else becomes president in 2024, that's because you guys chose it, not because someone else made it happen. So that's the way, on a bigger picture level, that's the way reality works. But you guys can choose it. So choose your own adventure book. Lucas says, I bet there is a timeline where Kobe Bryant is still alive and wasn't in a plane crash. I don't know. I really don't know. You'd have to talk to someone with more knowledge about these things than me, because that's never been my approach to this subject. Is that type of thought or consideration? I'm very specifically focused on what's happening now and how I can help create a better future. And I've always been that way. It's very strange, but that's, I guess, just the nature of my personality. But Dynamic Edit says, Michael Macintosh, I have seen your website and it looks really well done. Well, thank you. I did it myself. One question: when do you plan to disclose ET Life if you become the president of 2024? Um, well, I would like to do that right away. In fact, I've been talking about it. And so that is really a form of disclosure, but I would like to present evidence pretty quickly. But I don't think I'm probably going to be able to do that. I think it's going to require some investigative digging and uncovering things that have been buried by especially our military and people in the military who don't want the general public to know things. So what I'm probably going to have to do is twist some arms and uh, really get people to respect the position of commander in chief and do what they're told. They're supposed to be doing that when the president tells them what to do. So um, I envision that that's probably what's going to happen. But so that could take a few years. But I do remember certain things about my experiences that lead me to believe I already know where there is extraterrestrial life being housed. And so Lucas says, I know we have to create a better future. I know what the ET races are. There are the gray aliens called the grays. They're also the tall white aliens. There are probably, excuse me, I've been sick lately. There are probably just as many species in uh, in the universe as there are on this planet, and I mean intelligent species. Uh, the universe is so huge that really to think that there's nothing else in it of intelligence besides ourselves is pretty laughable, in my opinion. Um, so yeah, I think that probably there are more than just that. In fact, I know that there are, frankly, but there are some nice aliens. Lisa says. I've met some nice ones. So they were nice to me. And I first encountered them when I was 5 years old. They never, that I recall, did anything bad to me. Uh, yeah, as long as we do appear hostile to them or don't appear hostile to them, we shouldn't need to worry. Yeah, that's the key thing is not being hostile. I mean, humans are uh, have a tendency towards being aggressive and hostile, and that is one of the things that they have communicated to me that we need to ease up on because they're not going to help us the way that they want to if we continue to be hostile and aggressive, especially towards each other, because they don't want to see us destroying ourselves. It's very simple, but hard to do. Lucas says, I heard with tall white aliens, they live up to about 500 years old and their bones get brittle and then pass away. Uh, that's very possible, but I don't really know, frankly. Hi there, Alex. Alex says, future president. Hopefully, Alex. Lisa says, but even the ruthless aliens aren't as bad as dark humans. Yeah, I think there's varying degrees of badness in humanity and other species, I suppose, depending what you think is good or bad, or believe is good or bad. I think it's important to know where we as humans are on the in the universal order of things. I think we have the potential to be very relevant in the universe, and we also have the potential to completely destroy ourselves, which we should not do. Alex says, "Have you really been to Mars?" Yep, I've been to Mars numerous times. I don't remember all of them because I have been memory suppressed, and I'm still, even right now, uh, struggling to figure out a way to uncover all of the memories that have been suppressed. But there is one experience that I do clearly remember, which I believe was the first time I went to Mars, and I've recounted it numerous times already in various uh, broadcasts and radio shows. So you can go to my website and listen to the radio streams there. There's a 2 hour broadcast with myself and Andy Bashago. There's another 2 hour broadcast of just me talking about it. There's a few other ones too where I've talked about it. So they're all on the website. So feel free to take a listen. Uh, Dynamic Edit says, "Do you remember how the aliens looked? Did they look humanoid? Did they have any extra limbs?" Which ones are you talking about? I've seen numerous species in my life that are uh, alien, if you want to call them alien. uh, One or two of them could just be indigenous to Earth, but we don't encounter them. Frankly, that's you know we don't know if they're from here. I don't know if they're from here, but they could very well be. But they're extraterrestrials, which means they are here and elsewhere on other planets. So yeah, I remember that there were humanoid species that I met that are native to Mars. I've encountered those. They are uh, green. They have sort of well, they have weapons. They have sort of armor. Um, they have things that cover up their breathing from the dust on Mars. Mars is very dusty. Um, they speak through telepathy, and they spoke. One of them spoke with me telepathically and communicated the entire history of Mars and um, how it used to be part of an advanced multiplanetary civilization, but was destroyed by some great cataclysm that somehow the Martians brought upon themselves. And then they went underground, lived underground, what those who survived, and are hoping that someday we, humanity, will bring civilization back to their planet. They want us to help them, basically. That's what this one communicated to me through telepathy while I was 5, 6-year-old boy on the surface of Mars back in the early 80s. Let's see. That's just one species. The grays, you know what the grays look like? They're pretty famous. I've met other dimensional beings that don't exist in the three dimensions that we exist in, who communicated to me that they were from Venus. They were like blue, and they were other dimensional, completely other dimensional. There are many dimensions in this universe, you guys, and there's life in other dimensions that we can't perceive necessarily. But let's see. Is the world? Wait, hold on. Have I met Al Bielek? I've not, to my knowledge, met Al Bielek, but he. But I think I will. Strangely, I think that perhaps in the future that Al Bielek visited, that I am there. I think. Hmm. Let's see. Is the world run by demons, non-humans who push agendas? Unfortunately, yeah, the world is right now controlled by demonic entities. Yes, if you believe in the Bible, and you'll know that's true if you just look around you at what's going on a lot of the time. You'll know that's also true, and doesn't take much to realize that negative spirit forces, other dimensional forces, are really at work in this world. But what we have is our free choice and our free will to pursue what we know is the right thing to do and the right decision to make when it comes to any and every single thing. So we have that advantage, and we can rely on God for guidance in these matters, and not be unduly influenced by these negative forces if we so choose. So we need to learn how to make the right choices. Excuse me. Yeah, I remember that show Futurama, and I don't know the episode specifically that you're talking about, but maybe. I mean, this happened before Futurama existed, so maybe the Futurama show is like my experience. Think about that. There's a boy in Russia who claims to remember his past life on Mars. He says that there was a war and they destroyed the planet, so they moved underground. Yeah. Well, I don't know what his full story is, but yeah, there's that's what I was able to ascertain as well. Not just by telepathic communication with a Martian humanoid, but by remote viewing the surface of Mars and seeing the past, present, and future of the planet. Let's see, Lisa H. His story is so amazing. I'll have to look it up. Do you believe a politician can rule without being influenced by reptiles? I don't think a politician should rule. I don't. I'm not a politician. I don't think. Uh, I don't think there should be politicians. Frankly, I don't believe in politicians. Anyone who says they're a politician doesn't have my vote. So, um, I'm not interested in politicians, and I am not a politician. I will never be a politician. And the concept of politicians ruling anything is sickening to me. And frankly, I think it shouldn't be the case. I think that what we have is a representative republic, democratic republic, And our founding fathers were uh, wise men in that they knew a country, for it to be uh, free, relatively speaking, needed to have uh, elected individuals who are beholden to the public and the will of the people. Um, Politicians don't aren't interested in that. They're interested in their own agendas, and uh, that's why I have a great difficulty trusting Democrats. Is because that's what they are, as politicians. And unfortunately, a lot of Republicans are now politicians, but it didn't used to be that way. So you can find out the truth. Hi there, Omar. Welcome. Alex says you can find out the truth through a spiritual awakening and meditation, can't you? Um, you can find out the truth through, yeah, of course, application of certain information that is contained in the Bible itself, and study and research of that, and applying it. Having a spiritual awakening just means that you've applied something that you've already learned somehow. And meditating is always useful. So I'm going to have to do more serious meditation and regression therapy in order to uncover the truth of what has happened to me over my life when it comes to certain experiences that I can't remember right now. But I'm planning on that for sure. And I'll be sure to let you know. Omar says, will the world become united with no nationality, like one country for all the humans? Eventually, yes, that does happen a long time from now in our time, according to our time. I mean, I think that's probably not for hundreds of years, if not 1,000 years. But yeah, eventually there is just one world, and there aren't any countries, and um, nobody saying I'm this nationality or that nationality, or it's this is this country or that country. It's all just Earth and people. But I don't know if I'm going to lead anything, Lisa. I'm I'm just interested in seeing things happen that people want to see happen, rather than. I'm not interested in leaders or leadership. I don't think that's really a good way to go. I think what we need is more sort of custodian type approach to government, where people are tasked with the responsibility of taking care of things that the people want to happen. And leadership belongs in the hands of the individuals, the individual, every individual. So that's what our founding fathers were talking about, and that's what they gave us. That's the type of system they gave us, where we all equally are responsible for what happens. So it's a very serious thing. It's not something we should. Uh, it's not a responsibility that we should give over to someone else to do it for us. That's not how America works, and that's it's never going to work if we take that approach. So, um, all right, Let's see. Are you somehow chosen to go to Mars when you were a young child? It was through my kindergarten class. I was Some men came in. I still can't remember their faces too well. I remember kind of one guy, two guys. If I tried harder, I could probably remember some more faces. Um, I'm not going to tell you who I think those people were right now because uh, that wouldn't be appropriate. But there were a bunch of people, and they asked me some questions, checked off the list, took me out of the school, drove me to uh, some warehouse near the school, put me in a teleportation gate, basically like a gate. Uh, Next thing you know, I'm in California when I had been uh, near Montana, and then I was brought into another building by Barack Obama, who was then 19 years old. Brought up to a floor on an elevator. Uh, and then there was another elevator that we got on, and it brought us to Mars. It teleported us. So, and then we were teleported back. And then I was teleported back to my original location and put back in my school class, all in a single day. That's how it happened. Let's see. Yeah, so I was picked for that for reasons I don't really want to talk about right now, but maybe I will someday. But it's a little bit. Yeah, if I explain to you what I think the reasons were, you might just think I'm a little crazy. In fact, you probably think I'm crazy anyway for saying this stuff, but and that's okay. I'm not here to convince you of my sanity. Um, do I plan to release the stuff in my proposals to America or all countries that are allied with America? Well, I think once it's made public by the U.S. government. Um, oh, you mean like, well, look, I don't think we're gonna be able to just share technology with people without really knowing that we can trust what's going on. But I don't plan on sharing the technology with people. I'm planning on just disclosing its existence, and it needs to be regulated. I think I may have made that clear already, but I mean, surely you understand that there are far too many security risks with making such technology public publicly available to just anybody and sharing it with other countries. There has to be some oversight, and in this instance there has to be a lot of oversight probably. So that's what we're going to do. Alex says apparently the story of Jesus in the Bible was actually about ancient Egypt and the Egyptian gods. That's what some people believe. I don't. I believe that Jesus was and is the Son of God and who he said he was. So, what's that barcode for, Michael Macintosh? The barcode is just some artwork. It's not a barcode. It just looks like a barcode. It's just the type of font that I used to make that poster. Um, The QR code, if you scan it, it goes straight to the YAC website. So I don't know if you can scan it from here, but you don't need to. You can just type it in youngastronautsclub.com and you'll see it. Lisa says, I've heard about that kind of thing with children. Yeah, they do and have used children for certain projects. In fact, another person in that project was uh, likely a child when he was first exposed to advanced technology. Um, that's Annie Bashago, and probably Barack Obama was as well. Seeing, considering that his family are all probably lifelong CIA members or CIA associates. Let's see what else. I'm not talking about time travel, teleport, only the clean energy. Well, clean energy technology, assuming that we can mass produce that, I think that would be something that we would have to discuss on a country to country basis. We're not, America can't just give away everything. Um, Business is business, and if we have technology that is superior to technology in other countries, while we do hope that people around the world will adopt it to improve life on the planet, um, we're going to ask for some compensation, obviously, right? Well, I hope so. I hope you guys will be willing to buy our products, just like the rest of the world is more than willing to sell us their products. So fair is fair, right? Okay. Um, Sorry, I should have mentioned that. Oh, it's okay. Thank you for being so honest, says Lisa. That's no problem. I try very hard to be completely honest. And you know, Honest Abe is a hero of mine. Alex says, is the Earth flat with a dome on it? Come on, man, are you kidding? It's 2020. Are you seriously going to ask me that question? Are you seriously asking that question at all to anybody? No, it's not flat. It's actually carried on the back of two sea turtles, and it's the shape of an egg. Are you serious? You don't know what shape the Earth is at this point. I mean, we've been to space and taken pictures of it. Excuse me. Omar says we can use the time travel machine to change the past for a better past with no wars. Do you think it should be used in this way or is it dangerous? Yeah, see, this is a big reason why we can't just give it like let anybody use it because we can't do that. If we did that, it would completely alter history, and maybe that's why Michael Phillips is talking about, or has been talking about, or seen a 2076 where I am not president because things have been, or may have been altered so greatly that this doesn't happen. Well, anyway, what now? You know what I mean? Possibilities are still there because I'm still here and I'm still talking about this right now. So, and it's only 2020. The you know I'm campaigning well in advance. I was the first person to start campaigning for 2024, and I'll probably be the last person to to campaign. So, um, I don't give up when I know that there's something I have to do, and I know that this is what I have to do. So I don't have a choice, really. I mean, I do, but really, I don't. If that makes any sense. It's like, you have a choice whether to touch the stove and burn your hand or not touch the stove and burn your hand. Well, is that really a choice? Would you choose to touch the stove and burn your hand, um, or would you choose to not touch the stove and not burn your hand? Well, on behalf of everybody else, I'm looking at it like, you know, we don't want to touch the stove and burn our hand by electing someone else. Does that make any sense? So I'm just one of you guys saying, look, I'm here instead of all those other idiots. I'm one of us, and let's not let them do that to us. And we have that choice. Understand that. Okay, so let's see what else we got here. You guys are saying that's good that you're not a flat earther, Alex. Of course. Hi there, Francesco. Flat Earth. People do believe that the Earth is flat still in 2020. I've met some of them, and they ridiculed me for thinking the Earth is a sphere. I don't know. I don't know what century they're in. They're not in this century, that's for sure. You know that thing called a globe, where we look at the Earth, and yeah, it's that shape for a reason because that is the approximate shape of the Earth, right? Right. I don't know why we're having this discussion. It seems kind of like it should have been well established by this point in everybody's mind that the Earth is a sphere. It's, it's an oblate spheroid, right? Is that the term? It's like it's not quite like a ball, but it's almost like a ball. It's a little flat on each each pole, but it's more or less like a ball with a little bit of air taken out of it, or like someone pushing down on it. So yeah, it's a globe. All right, you guys. So I just wanted to check in and say hi and let you guys know what's been going on. Yeah, a little bit smushed there, Crystal. I'm gonna head off now. I don't know why people say the Earth is flat, Francesco. You would have to ask them individually why they believe that, and I think you'll probably find that none of them are able to come up with a satisfactory explanation. They're just being contrarian most of the time. Omar says, "Did you write a book? If not, are you interested in writing a book in the future?" Yeah, of course. Are you offering me a publishing deal? I would love to write a book. I've written a few books in my lifetime, but not about my experiences with any of this stuff. I've written poetry books. I've written uh, sort of uh, books of my lyrics, my song lyrics, but I've never written about this kind of thing. I've just something prompted me some time ago to start making these videos and just kind of talking about it and going on the radio and that kind of thing. because I believe that ultimately it's what people deserve to know. It's what, you know, people deserve to hear the truth about this stuff from as many sources as possible. And I'm just another part of a movement, really. Not, you know, nobody owns this. This is everyone who's part of it is part of this. It's a it's a movement, really, and there are enough of us who have these experiences in our lives that it is a significant movement at this point, and it will continue. And I believe that those of us who have come forward uh, are collectively very brave, and I applaud each and every one of you. And I thank you guys as well because I would not have had some of my memories come back had I not been prompted to question the experiences of my own life by being sort of triggered to do so by other individuals who have come forward a long time ago now at this point. So thank you to those guys, those people. You know who you are. You all know who you are. I'm not going to stop talking either. So sorry if you don't like it. This is Michael Macintosh. I'm going to head off now, and thanks you guys for your support. Please visit macintoshusa.org and youngastronautsclub.com, and hit me up on Facebook, hit me up on Skype, Gab, Twitter, all of your. I'll be on other social media platforms really soon, lots of them, and we can all keep in touch that way as well on your preferred media platform. So, thank you. Have a great weekend. Have I considered running for governor? Yes, I have, but maybe I'll do that after I'm president.